I'm very nosy. I'm not ashamed of it. I always have been. I probably always will be. I love that when I go to parties now and I tell people I have a podcast about period pain, immediately someone is telling me what their period pain is, what their doctor has told them, what they got diagnosed with. I love it. I even have a shirt that I made myself that I wear to conferences with the CRAMPED logo on it that says in big letters, "Tell me about your period pain." And I mean it earnestly. Tell me about it. Sharing my story with all of you made such a huge difference for me. I wanted to give other people the chance to share their period pain stories, their quest to get answers, seeing doctor after doctor, and finally finding some answers and being able to do something about it. So what do you do if you've been on birth control since you were 10 years old because your period cramps are so bad? How do you handle it when your symptoms change and you realize you might be dealing with 2 different diseases? What do you do when a specialist says something really messed up about your body?
What's happening to your body, we don't know, because we've never really studied the female body. Say it's all in my head, but the research is quite spotty. No, we've never really studied the female body. I go to the doctor to get dismissed. Try losing weight, you're just anxious. That's fine, that's cool, I'm not pissed. Just wait 10 years for a diagnosis. Psychosomatic, you're so dramatic. Hysterical, emotional, hormonal, erratic. Heart disease, chronic fatigue, depression and anxiety. Do you have pain? No, you don't, because we've never really studied the female body.
Welcome back to CRAMPED, the podcast where I try to find answers to my and other people's questions about their period pain. I'm your host, Kate Helen Downey, and this week we're sharing a diagnosis story. I put out a call for diagnosis stories on the Patreon and on my Instagram. We got some amazing stories, and we can only share a few of them. If you would like to support this podcast and get an email next time we do a call for stories, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/cramped. Statistically, we need about 20% of you listening right now to join as paid members in order for us to continue doing what we're doing long term. If you value this work, if you've gotten something out of it, please consider joining for $5, $10, or $25 a month. If you can't afford that right now, that's okay. There's a free tier and you'll still get all the benefits because we are not the American healthcare system. We do not make you pay for access to the community and the information that you need to best take care of yourself and get the right treatment. And just a quick reminder, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Everything presented in CRAMPED is my own or other people's personal experiences. Speaking of other people's personal experiences, let's hear from today's cramper.
My name is Daphne. I live in Houston, Texas with my family. I work for a nonprofit that does social justice work.
That's awesome. When was the first time that you realized, something's wrong? This hurts more than it should.
Probably within one of my first 2 or 3 periods when I was 10 years old. The first one I don't remember as much, but I do remember later on experiencing severe cramps and nausea and vomiting to the point where I couldn't hold anything down and had to go to the ER multiple times. So that's kind of when I knew, like, all right, this isn't, I don't know if it's normal or not. I didn't know what was normal. And I was 10. I wasn't talking to people about periods. So I didn't know whether or not it was normal. I just knew I'm in pain.
Throwing up so much you have to go to the ER because of your period cramps, it's not a good club, but
at all.
There's a lot of us in it.
For sure. But I didn't know that when I was 10.
Right. Speaking of your family, how did your mom and your family react to this? Like, they took you to the ER, but was there any follow-up? Did your mom have painful periods? And she was just like, yeah, that's how it goes.
I didn't know that she had painful periods. I feel like I didn't even know that until recently when I've been talking to her about things. Maybe she told me then and I just don't remember. But she did take me to doctors to try to follow up and see what was wrong. I don't know that we ever got any answers. What happened was I ended up getting put on birth control to control the pain, which it did for a long time.
Okay, good.
I don't know what else happened because of that, but yeah.
It's also so hard when someone's 10 or 11 and, you know, you're not going to give them a transvaginal ultrasound. The options are a little limited. And it's so common when people first get their periods for things to just be like totally chaotic and wacky and then it settles down. What was like the next event in your like period pain saga?
I think that was the thought about my pain, was like, maybe it'll settle down as you get older. Like, let's just be on the birth control, you know, until later and kind of wean off and see what happens. So I ended up getting put on the depot shot.
Maybe that makes sense because they were like a 10-year-old cannot take the pill at the same time every day.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I got on that from the beginning, because it was easier, you know, just once every 90 days, go to the doctor. And then I didn't have a period at all. So for several years when I was a teenager, didn't have a period. I might have tried to stop it a couple times and cramps immediately came back. Like, nope, body's not ready yet. Let's just get back on and try again in a few years. So the next major thing that happened around the time I was graduating from college, around 2012, I went to a new gynecologist who said, oh no, we have to get you off this shot. It can be dangerous. We need to see what's going on. So at that point, that was the first time I did have a transvaginal ultrasound and it looked normal. Then the doctor said, hey, well, we got to do surgery. Like, let us know when your schedule is open. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Surgery? What do you mean?
Right.
She wasn't really telling me what she suspected or anything. She was like, well, this is just the plan. And I was like, actually,
just let me cut you open.
Yeah. And I'm like, just surgery? I don't know. So by that time I had heard of endometriosis. And she said that she suspected it. And I was like, you know, that kind of makes sense. I probably have it. But I was like, that surgery? I don't know that I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. So I got a second opinion from a doctor who said it could be endometriosis, but if you do have it, your treatment is probably going to be the same as you're doing right now, which is taking birth control. Surgery can cause scar tissue. You may not want to do that until you're ready to have kids. He just assumed I wanted to have kids. So, yeah.
Right. Sure, of course.
Yeah. So he was like, come back whenever you're ready to have kids and you don't have to have surgery now. And of course, that sounded fine to me. I was like, I am fine with not having surgery.
Given the options of having a surgery that hasn't been explained to me, like why you would want to do it and what the benefits would be, like versus not having the surgery, not having to pay for it, not having to like stop your life. And you're like 21, 22. It's like, yeah, I'll do the not surgery option, please.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and the way it was explained, it was like, you know, if it's there, like, it's fine. Basically, like there wasn't any urgency.
They're not telling you might be having these cramps because you have a bunch of scar tissue already, like adhering your organs together, and that might be what's causing the pain, and that actually could get worse if we let it just keep going.
Right, but yeah, I had no idea. The doctors probably had no idea, or at least that doctor probably had no idea that could be a thing. But so I just moved forward, like, hey, I probably have endometriosis. That's what causes this pain. That's why I'm taking birth control to manage that.
And especially at 21, 22, you're not going to go like on a deep dive. You just want to live your life.
And I don't even know if I would have had the same level of information that's available now.
Right.
Like I said, I kind of did a little bit of research. I'm like, okay, this causes pain. This is what I'm experiencing. I probably have it, you know, but I didn't know. There wasn't a lot of research about just the implications of that and what could be happening aside from just pain. You know, the pain is because your organs could be fusing together or whatever. I didn't know that, but I was like, well, I'm going to just take this and it relieves the pain. And it did.
Right. If it works, it works. Yeah. Why would you look further into it? Were you having any other symptoms at this time, like aside from the period pain if you tried to go off birth control?
Not that I remember. You know, I wasn't really paying attention to my body like that when I was that age. So, I don't really remember. I did have some weight fluctuations, which I found out since that's related to PCOS, which I also have. I found that out in the past few years. Yeah. So, I don't really remember anything else that would have been that I could actually tie to endometriosis.
Okay, yeah, so why would you be looking for more answers if you got one that sounded right? What happened after you got told, like, come back when you want to have kids?
At that time, I just kind of, I took birth control. I was on that, and there would still be times where I tried to wean off and see, like, let's see if things are different.
Yeah.
it didn't take long to figure out, like, all right, things aren't different. So I was on and off
Yeah.
birth control, different types of birth control. I ended up getting married after school, and so I had an IUD, which helped for a while. It didn't eliminate my period, so I still had cramps, but they weren't as bad. I got divorced, and I was like, let me get this IUD out, and immediately cramps came back, the same intensity. And so I started taking a pill. And it was around this time that I learned about PCOS, got diagnosed with PCOS. And so I was also trying to manage those symptoms.
How did you get diagnosed with PCOS? Like, did you go in with specific symptoms that you were asking about?
Yeah, so in 2020, my period disappeared. I guess I wouldn't have been on birth control at that time. Maybe I was roughing it. I don't know. I guess that was one of the times I was like, let me see. But my period disappeared for 3 months. And that had never happened. Yeah, so between that and then weight gain, I had gone vegan. During the pandemic, we were all trying to do a lot of different things. So mom was like, let me go vegan. I gained a ton of weight really fast, like a lot of inflammation. That, with the missing period, I was like, let me see what's going on here. I think I got maybe another ultrasound, some other blood tests. Gynecologist said, okay, yeah, looks like you probably have PCOS.
I'm sure that all that time you were on birth control, that was like mediating the PCOS too.
Yeah. And I think all the switches probably didn't help because I did kind of switch. Yeah, it was hard to keep track of like which one am I on after the shot because I was, in different places like for grad school and then getting married. And I had moved a few times.
Yeah.
And then was having some symptoms and tweaking the birth control along the way.
Between college and then like the rest of your life. I switched insurances so many times in my 20s. I didn't have insurance for a while. How am I supposed to keep track of what my prescriptions are, like who my doctor was 3 doctors ago? Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. So the symptoms I was having with PCOS made me really start paying attention to my body and my moods and just sleep and so many other things. So that was around 2020, 2021. I really started paying attention and I was really seeing how birth control was affecting my moods in particular. I felt like I really just had kind of a flat mood. I just wasn't really enjoying things like I felt like I could or had in the past. And so I was like, let me really try to get off the birth control and see what's going on. Of course, cramps came back. They're still there. I've been assuming that I have endometriosis this whole time. So I'm like, all right, let me go see an endometriosis specialist to see what my options are. Maybe this is the time for surgery. And I had also by that point decided, I was like, I don't need to have kids or I don't need to be pregnant. Like that's, so much going on in the world. I'm good. Like, I'm good on that. Let me just figure out what's going on with me and take care of me. Yeah. So I went to a specialist, got an MRI. That was the first time I had an MRI. So this would have been last year. Got an MRI and was told about endometriosis and also adenomyosis, which I had never heard of until that point. But the first doctor I saw, who was the big time specialist in Houston, he was explaining my MRI results. He said he saw some endometriosis or suspected endometriosis and also just issues going on with my uterus. He ended up telling me, well, your uterus kind of sucks. And I was like,
cool.
Okay, maybe it does, but I don't need you to say that. Like, that just...
Judgmental.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need you to say that. One, you've never had a uterus, so I don't want you talking about my uterus like that. And that just didn't...
Yeah.
He's a specialist, but that just didn't inspire confidence in me.
That doesn't sound like how a doctor talks. Like,
right. Yeah. Like, and I have a background in health education. Let's look at the MRI and show me what's going on. I don't need you to tell me my uterus sucks.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. So I was like, you might be the specialist, but I don't really want you to touch me. So let me go to somebody else. So I did. I went to another surgeon. Thankfully, here in Houston, we have so many great surgeons, specialists. And so...
Yeah, Houston's a great medical town. You guys got everything.
Yeah, seriously. We made a plan for me to have a hysterectomy and endometriosis excision
Wow.
and just go from there.
When the first doctor said your uterus kind of sucks, did the second doctor back that up, but in a more professional way?
In a more professional way. She looked at the results and she said, like, yes, it looks like you have some different lesions or things going on with your uterus, and I would suspect adenomyosis. Like, that's what I need you to tell me. Like, don't. So yeah, I felt a lot more comfortable with her, and probably after that experience, I don't think I'll have any more male doctors. Gynecologist, definitely not. Yeah, the doctor that told me to wait until I wanted kids, that was a male doctor. When I first got diagnosed with PCOS, I had a male gynecologist, and he said, "Oh, just go keto."
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's like, "Here's this book on this man that like went keto and ran marathons. Like, read this." Yeah. So
wow. Again, not how a doctor should talk.
Right.
My endosurgeon was a man. I would recommend him up and down. He was so good, and his bedside manner was so good, and he calmed my anxieties about the surgery. My surgery was the day before 4th of July, and he gave me his personal cell phone number so I could call him on the 4th of July if anything like happened during recovery. And he called me with his like 4-year-old son in the background, like yelling at him, and he was like, "I just want to see how everything's going. How are you feeling?" And it was like, okay, you're great. But I do think it is more likely to get a shitty male gynecologist than to get a shitty female gynecologist, though they exist too.
Oh, they do. I mean, and the one who just told me, "Oh, you're getting off this birth control, we're doing surgery," like, yeah, that wasn't a good experience either.
Right. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Cause we never really studied the female body.
Welcome back to Cramped. We're talking to Daphne about her diagnosis story. She just made the decision not to work with an endometriosis specialist because she did not appreciate the way this person talked about her body. So you found a specialist that you like, you planned this surgery with them, then what happened?
I had the surgery. Oh, no. Actually, let me back up, because there was a little bit of time in between when I saw the first specialist. He said an option was I could go on, it was a progesterone-only pill, kind of like a higher dose. It wasn't quite a birth control pill. It was like just like 5 milligrams of progesterone or whatever. Yeah. So I was like, let me try this. Let me see. I don't know that I've tried this in particular. Let me try it. Let me see what happens. And I had a similar experience to other birth controls where it did help the pain, but my mood was wild, like my appetite was wild. There were just so many things that were off kilter, and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and do the surgery. So that's when I like saw the other doctor, scheduled the surgery, and then had the surgery. I'm about 6 weeks out now. I had the surgery.
Oh my God, this was
February.
so recent.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't realize that. Oh my God, you're in bed right now, like 6 weeks out from a hysterectomy. Oh my God. Did they also take your ovaries?
No. I still have my ovaries, because there wasn't any endo on the ovaries or anything like that, because she did a pretty thorough endometriosis excision, because I did have some of that kind of like around like behind my uterus and things like that.
Very common spot.
Yeah, but ovaries were fine. And that was the plan going into it, like keeping ovaries.
From what I've heard from other people, that's such a hard decision. Having a hysterectomy does take care of the adenomyosis, right? Because that's like endometrial-like cells in the muscle of the uterus. Yeah. So like getting the uterus out of there fixes that.
Yes. And most of my pain was surrounding my period. So I'm like, even if, there's endo and other things, I know that this pain associated with my period is not going to be a thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I know with some people who have and everywhere in their pelvic cavity, leaving the ovaries in, that can still create a lot of pain because the estrogen stimulates the endo cells. Yeah. And so even though their uterus is out, those endo cells weren't in their uterus because that's what endometriosis is.
Right. And, yeah, exactly.
But if it seems like the pain was really caused by what was in the muscle of your uterus and also the uterus being like adhered to stuff in the back, like that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So have you had a period since the surgery?
No, like nothing.
Oh, right, because
because the uterus is gone. So yeah, there's no period.
Right. Duh, Kate.
Yeah, well, but because I have been paying attention to kind of hormonal shifts and things like that, I was like, I think this would have been the first day of my period. It was maybe like 4 weeks after surgery. I was like super emotional, irritable, I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on? I was like, I think this would have been the first day of my period, which to me
the
was a
body
good
remembers.
sign. Yeah, the body remembers. It was a good sign. It was good feeling like ovaries are like they're getting used to the new normal. They're still
Yeah.
cycling like they should be. So,
Yeah.
feeling good.
That's awesome. How's the recovery been? How has your pain levels been from the recovery?
The recovery has been great. One of the things I really appreciate about my surgeon is that she takes pain really seriously and wanted to make sure that I would be as comfortable as possible. So I know she did like anesthesia blocks, I guess, or nerve blocks. I don't know the exact term for them.
I do vaguely remember this from my surgery, and I can't remember the exact.
Some type of block that just like blocks the pain to a certain area for a few days. So the first few days,
it's like an injection
Yeah.
where it like numbs the nerves for a couple days.
Yeah, so she did that and then gave me a pretty extensive, I think I had 4 or 5 different types of pain medications, like muscle relaxers, ibuprofen, Tylenol, like so many different things, and I was grateful for it all.
Yeah. Another person I talked to about their story, they were saying they were told after their excision, their doctor was like, oh yeah, you can go to work, back to work in like 48 hours.
Oh my
And
gosh!
her experience, she was like, no, like I had 2 weeks before I could even like get out of bed without being in pain.
Absolutely not.
Just because it's
Absolutely not.
minimally invasive doesn't mean that the recovery is totally fine. It's not a dental procedure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's wild. That's wild. That's another reason I'm really glad I found the surgeon that I did. She definitely recommended, taking it easy. I was able to be off work for 4 weeks, even though I do work from home. I was able to be off for 4 weeks to just focus on healing and, paying attention to my body, seeing what I needed. And so, it's been progressing great. So I'll have my checkup soon and hopefully have all my restrictions lifted so I can get back to moving how I want to move. I did see pictures. I wanted pictures of things. I know you talked about it with your surgery. So I got pictures of everything, and I saw my uterus, and my doctor was telling me, like, you see where it's like round? It probably shouldn't be like that. I actually saw some lesions on the outside. I had a fibroid that had just popped up in the past couple of years ago. It was kind of round where it shouldn't have been round, and so it was good to know this was a thing, right? Like I wasn't making it up, and the intervention I chose was actually appropriate and should help with the pain.
Yeah, seeing actual photos of the inside of you is so crazy and so validating. Like, my favorite one, I have it on my phone and I like look at it sometimes because I'm just like, that was 20 years. Nobody had any answers for me. Nobody had anything to say to me other than like, take more ibuprofen. And now I can look at a picture of my fallopian tube that was like 4 times as big as it should have been and was also like glued to my ovary and my uterus. And like, it looks wrong. It looks like a vine crawling up my uterus. It's very clear visually, not a medical student, not a doctor, and I can look at that and be like, that's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, I was like, is it supposed to have bumps on the outside? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Right. And it's just so validating to be like, that's what hurt. It was that the whole time. That's what hurt me. All those times I was in the ER for hours and hours explaining why I needed morphine. Like,
Exactly.
That was why. It was that guy. It's so cool to have a picture of it. I love modern science for that.
Yes.
I am so excited that you just got your surgery and that so far it seems to have like really worked. And I hope that continues.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Hope so too. Fingers crossed. Either way, I know like the issues I had with my uterus, like those are gone. So we'll see. The
relief you must feel of just like, the problem is gone.
Yes. No, seriously. That's gone. And I knew I didn't want to get pregnant because of the issues I was having. Yeah. Like, I didn't know if I would even be able to maintain a pregnancy or sustain it all the way through, or, I didn't know how I would be feeling with that. So kind of, that's also a relief knowing like I can't get pregnant because
that's not even on the table anymore.
Yeah, it's not on the table. So that it feels great.
That's awesome. And that's what we talk about when we talk about like bodily autonomy. It's not that everybody should have a hysterectomy. It's not that everybody shouldn't have a hysterectomy. Right. It's that we should be able to make these decisions about our own bodies with no doctors either telling us to do it or not to do it without full informed consent.
Yeah.
That we get to make our own decisions and follow those through at the best level of care. That's it. What would you say to someone who is in the exact same position that you were in like 5 years ago, where you know stuff is wrong, you've had some test results back that are like, "Ugh, I know something's going on, but like I don't know how to treat it or I don't know what to do about it."
Yeah, I would say one, really start paying attention to your body and just how you feel on a day to day. You don't have to do anything like keeping a journal. It doesn't have to be that extensive, but notice if you're tired, if you have the option to lay down and take a nap, take a nap. I know that's not a thing for everybody. Like some people are in different situations, like with working or with kids or with whatever, but just kind of start paying attention because your body will tell you when things are wrong, and you don't always need a test, necessarily.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that and use that as your guide when you're seeking care. Find somebody that is going to validate your experiences, like what you're experiencing with your body, and someone who will give you options to help you, whether you want to relieve the pain, whether you want to get some answers. Like just try to find somebody who will listen to you, who you feel comfortable with and feel confident that they're giving you the right information. You're the expert on your own experience.
Yes, 100%. This story is so cool because you followed your instincts about when a doctor was not a good fit for you. Even when it was an endometriosis specialist and you didn't like the way he was talking to you about your body, you were like, pass, I'll find somebody else.
Yeah, I'm in a Facebook group that's like people in Houston with endometriosis or these types of
That's
experiences. Awesome. And I shared that, I didn't really like how this doctor talked to me. And everybody's like, well, he's the specialist and he's a surgeon. And the bedside manner, yes, he could improve on that, but he's the best surgeon. And I'm like,
whoa.
I didn't know we were caping for this doctor in this group. But okay,
right.
Like that was an interesting turn.
God, any online community gets its weird stands for specific people. There are so few endometriosis specialists out there, especially like in each individual area, that people get weirdly attached. And especially like the sunk cost fallacy. Like if you've paid this doctor so much money, you can't make a switch in your mind that like, well, he might not be great.
Yeah. Or maybe he's great, but it's valid to say, hey, I don't like how he talked to me. Like, I don't feel comfortable with him. Because I don't know, maybe he's great, but would he be great for me? I don't know. If he thinks my uterus sucks, like, how would he treat the removal of that?
And your experience is valid, and it's good that you share it in case there are other people who had that experience and were like, oh, is it just me? Like, does everybody else love this guy? And like, I just get a weird vibe and like I don't like him. No, it's so wild. And I think there are so many people out there who are just like, they went to school for this. You just have to do whatever they tell you and they get to act however they want to because they're the ones with the knowledge. And it's like, no, they work for you. Yeah. You are the gatekeeper of your body and all access to it. Like you get to decide if you didn't like the way someone talked to you. And then if you're in an area where like they are the only specialist and they're the only way to get quality care and they're an asshole, then you get to make your own decision of like, do I want to put up with that? And is it worth it? Or do I want to like travel somewhere else if I can afford it to see someone who speaks to me the way I want to be spoken to and also has this expertise?
Yeah, you can have both. You can have both.
Thank you so much for telling your story, Daphne, and for reaching out. Is there anywhere that you want people to follow you or where they can find you if they want to talk more about this?
I am on Instagram. My profile is God Loves Divorce. That's a whole other part of my life that, we haven't talked about here, but I share my story about my marriage and divorce and all that. So if people want to reach out and talk about that or period stuff, surgery, I'm open.
I love your podcast. Will you tell people a little, just briefly, about your podcast and where that came from?
Yeah, so I have a podcast I did a few years ago with a friend. It's called Love is a Trip. We both had experiences growing up in the church and having that influence our ideas about relationships in really harmful ways. So we both ended up in some pretty crazy situations in our marriages and ended up getting divorced, and now we're talking to people about that experience and hopefully giving people courage to do something different.
If that sounds up your alley, go listen to that. Thank you so much, Daphne.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's it for us this week on Cramped. If you've ever gotten to the point in your diagnosis journey where you see a specialist and then you've decided not to continue working with them because of the way that they have communicated with you, I want to hear about it. You can write down your experience, or you can record a voice note and send it to me at crampedpodcast@gmail.com. If you have gotten something out of these podcast episodes, if you are enjoying the work that we do, please support this entirely independent podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/cramped. See you next week.
What's happening to your body? We don't know because we've never really studied the female body.